Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Yesterday we had Steven Mnuchin publicly send a letter to Jerome Powell, the Treasury Secretary, basically blasting him and asking if certain credit lines unused since the CARES Act could be retaken over and used for some other funding purposes, probably another stimulus bill, probably trying to get funds together to about to create another bill for that. So let's react to this Bloomberg video.
Slightly out of control. People were really concerned about credit markets, about whether they would function properly overnight. We saw the Fed step in, and I suppose it is that fear that we might need that backstop at some point through the winter that spooks investors a little bit this morning. We're certainly seeing a little bit of weakness in US futures attached to this story.
So to summarize, during the COVID pandemic, initially in February or March, the government set up multiple credit lines to small businesses, individuals, mainly commercial businesses, to provide liquidity in the system in case they needed, additional loans to operate, to get equipment, or to keep their businesses running when the whole economy was on lockdown. So in the recent months past, a lot of these credit lines, there were 13 or 14 other commercial credit lines that were open. The utilization or the amount of credit that was being used was quite low. And Mnuchin has asked that some of these credit lines be shut down and the funds to be used in some other purposes. Most likely with Joe Biden taking the presidency recently and him to be sworn in January, they could be setting the table to have larger funds in use to pass a further stimulus in 2021. So let's take a look and try to summarize the letter that was sent out yesterday night. So this letter was written by Steven Mnuchin, and it starts, "Dear Chairman Powell, I would like to thank personally the entire team at the Federal Reserve for the great work in establishing 13 separate credit lines pursuant to the Federal Reserve Act." So he goes to summarize the numbers that was in the credit line and the specific names of the credit lines. And he says that fortunately, just recapping, that the amount of credit and financial support responded very positively. In the markets, spreads tightened and banks continued to lending. So this credit facility was to provide extra liquidity to all the businesses and make sure the economy could keep running. And the Federal Reserve facilities was also supported by the CARES Act. So there was a lot of stimulus and liquidity that was pumped into the system. And he summarizes by saying that a lot of the actual credit line and the limits now are being not really used that much. And the number is in the billions. So he says that, as we have discussed, the current facilities are set to expire at year end. It has been our collective responsibility to provide economic support to restore financial conditions as a response to COVID-19. While portions of the economy are still severely impacted in need of additional fiscal support, financial conditions have responded and the use of these facilities has been limited. In abundance of caution, however, I'm requesting that the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve approve an extension to 2 facilities. So he's saying if we could shut down the other 13, perhaps use the funds for another bill or further stimulus and keep 2 of the main credit lines running. So it's pretty rare for him to publicly, send a letter to Powell highlighting these items. So there must have been a disagreement, speculating behind the scenes. And this is good news for the stimulus front because it frees up multiple billions of dollars to perhaps be used in a larger bill that I think will be different from the CARES Act, like a brand new bill that could be, in the trillions again. So good news on the stimulus front. We also see articles and news coming out that a lot of Washington, they're reconvening to work on this stimulus talk. And we see news out of Europe that Lagarde pledges for a larger stimulus response in December to help with their economy, which has been hit by the second wave pretty largely. So we know that Europe and Japan will push ahead with further stimulus and an increased stimulus budget in 2021. Let's look at the COVID numbers quickly. In US, we had over almost 12 million new infections. on yesterday, we had over 180,000 new infections. So that's a record. We can see that the curve is not flattening at all. And in fact, it's steepening even further. And if we zoom in, we look at the 7-day average, it's still going steeper. And we had numbers yesterday of, as I said, 180,000, day before 160,000. So the new normal seems to be above 150,000. Hopefully this number goes down. We have US Thanksgiving around the corner next week and Christmas and the holidays coming up next month. So there will be a lot more family gatherings, people moving around, and that could give the chance for the virus to spread further. Hopefully it doesn't, and we all stay safe going forward. Thanks for watching today. Please hit subscribe. So that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching and visiting the channel. Please subscribe and like the video. And if you could do me a huge favor and let your family and friends know about the channel, that would be awesome. See you next time. Bye.